Hello crafters, I'm JanB and I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator. Today I'd like to show you how I made this card. I saw it on Pinterest and it was created by Heather, who is at www.playingwithpapercrafting.com if you'd like to check out her website. So thank you very much for this, Heather. It's an absolutely brilliant card. I think it's so clever. I'm going to tilt it so that you can see that that white on there is actually embossed, and it really does look like sea foam. I just think it's absolutely super. So I'm going to show you how I made this. I'm not sure that I've done it correctly to Heather's creation. But it works like this. So lots of cardstock with this. To start with, you need a card base of Whisper White that's 12 inches by 6 inches, scored at the 6-inch mark. Then there's a layer of Night of Navy, and that measures let me have a look, 5 7/8 by 5 7/8. This DSP, which is Soft Sky from the Designer Series Paper Stack, the Subtles collection, is one of the new designs, and this measures 5 3/4 inches by 5 3/4 inches. You will also need a layer of Night of Navy, and that measures 4 inches by 5 1/2 inches. Then you need a layer of Whisper White on top of that, which is 3 7/8 by 5 3/8. And then the sheet for the actual image, the picture, is 3 3/4 by 5 1/4. You'll need a small piece of Night of Navy and a small piece of Whisper White for the birthday sentiment. I've put all the layers together as far as I can beforehand to save us a bit of time. Right, okay, let me tell you first the stamp sets that we're going to be using. There are 4 of them. Whoops. Right, we will be using From Land to Sea, and we're going to be using the Lighthouse. Work of Art, and we're going to be using that long swipe, and also the more square splodge. I'm not quite sure what to call them otherwise. From Guy Greetings, I'm using Happy Birthday, and from Gorgeous Grunge I'm going to use this one here. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to stamp my Lighthouse, and that is here. I'm going to use Night of Navy ink. I'm stamping this approximately 3/5 of the way down and just a little way in, probably about 3/4 of an inch, and so that I don't finish up with a leaning lighthouse of wherever, I've got my Stampin' jig ready. So that must be about 2/3 of the way, 3/5 of the way down rather, isn't it, that I want? That must be about there. That looks straight, and about 3/4 of an inch in. I think that's about right. Okay, let's get my stamp all inked up. Right, while you're stamping, you need a mask. I've already made mine, So what I suggest you do is, if you take your a post-it and stamp down that side so that you've got sticky all the way underneath there, it makes it a lot easier once we start sponging and stamping all around it. So first of all, I'm going to colour this in, and I'm using a real red marker pen. Which bit did I do? It doesn't take long, it's just these stripes that make me think about Helter Skelter. Used to love those when I was a child. Right, and the last one. And I'm just going to use some Hello Honey for the actual light at the top of the lighthouse. There we go. Okay, so you've done this and you've cut this one out. So what we'll need to do is to cover up our lighthouse. And the first thing we're going to do is the land, and we're going to use this square one from Gorgeous Grunge, and we're using Tip Top Taupe ink. Now, because we're using a mask, the ink is going to leave little white spaces around the edge. But that's okay, because we're going to use a blender pen to fill the gaps in. I mean, with the design, it's obviously not meant to be perfection. In fact, I'm going to pop this underneath because I want to go off the edge. Right, now I'm going to get the top of this stamp to come approximately at the bottom of the second strip of red. So that was red, so I want it to come about there. Okay, better moisten that again. And I also want it to come off of the stamp as well, of the page rather. With this style of card, obviously there's no precision about it at all. Now there you go, you see what I mean about, you've got all this white at the edge around here, but it doesn't matter because we're going to come back in afterwards and blend all that in. Now we're going to use the big Swoosh stamp from Work of Art, and first of all with Bermuda Bay ink, and with the stamp so that it's whooshing upwards, not downwards. Okay, so first of all we'll do this one. I'm doing it so it's continuing from here where the land finishes. Again, very, very approximate. And then another one. Just do 3 or 4 of these in a random fashion. Don't worry about it coming over the land here. Right, that's 4, so we're call that it for that one. And then we're going to do some with mint macaroon. There we go. But first of all I need to clean my stamp. And basically what I'm going to do is just fill in the gaps with mint macaroon now. Some of them I'll go over the top. So I've got mint macaroon on top of the Bermuda Bay. Some of the mint macaroon would be just on its own. But just to give a really good selection of colours that have been created by the two, mint macaroon and Bermuda Bay. Okay, got a little bit left over there with the white, and we've got another bit here. Okay, so that's it. Doesn't look anything at the moment. In fact, it looks as if something that a 5-year-old could have done. Oh, that's the wrong one. That's the that one I need to clean. Oh, no, it isn't. That is the right one. I used one of these for oh, what was I using earlier on? Archival black, and it just wasn't cleaning, so I've put it right at the back there. And I thought I'll do that later. And I've obviously been using this one and not cleaned it. But that's okay, perseverance. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my Bermuda Bay, make sure I've got some squidged into the lid, and open that. And first of all I'm going to fill in the top here. I'm not quite sure how to describe the edge of this stamp where it's all broken, but I don't want to colour it all in because I think it looks quite good from the point of view that it's like small splashes that you would expect on waves. So I'm just colouring the biggest chunk of it and just leaving bits towards the top. And then any other bits that I've got down here that I want to colour in. It just needs to be really, really random. Okay, so that's all I'm going to do that. I'm not going to go round with the mint macaroon as well. I could do, but don't really think it needs it at all. Right, so now I'm going to do my tip-top taupe to just finish off my little bit of land. Make sure I've got some ink in the lid as well. In fact, now I think what I'm going to do, I'll take the mask off. Here we go. I want to be able to colour in up to the lighthouse, and obviously it's going to be easier without the mask there. just going to put some shadowing on the land as well. A bit of shadow hopefully is going to make it look as if it's quite rocky. Now on this bit I'm also going to get rid of these what looked like splashes on the sea bit, because we're not going to get splashes on the rocks, because that would look more like a rock fall. We certainly don't want that. Okay. There we go, that'll be good. Now we're going to do the clouds, and what you need to get for yourself for the clouds is you want two circles, two scalloped circles, and I made these by using the 1 1/4 inch scallop punch and the 1 3/4 inch scalloped punch. And I have used paper that's a bit thicker than normal computer paper, but it's not as thick as Whisper White. It's just that because I'm sponging, I felt that I wanted something a little bit more substantial so that it didn't buckle too easily. And the colour I'm going to be using is Soft Sky, and I'm going to start with using the big scallop, and I'm going to start at the top as well. Now all I'm trying to get here is some variation in colour so that it looks like clouds. I'm quite happy if it goes dark, because obviously, you know, the wind is blowing, the weather's not brilliant, and it could be a storm is brewing. Okay, so that's all I'm doing. Actually, I should put my mask back on again, shouldn't I? Come off to the side. Oh dear, look, I've got a back into a dimensional on my ink. That's it. That's gone. Okay, now I'm going to start doing my smaller clouds, and at the same time I'm trying to fill in any gaps I have left now as well. You see, as I'm going over the same area again, it's getting dark patches, which is really what I'm after. And just be careful when you're doing your bit over the mask to make sure it doesn't, you don't push it up with your sponge. That's why I suggested that you use the on your post-it note stamp all the way down the sticky bit. There we go. Now I'm just sponging over these last few areas. Okay, so that's fine. Now, before you can move on to the next step, which is the embossing, you need to allow this to dry. It doesn't take too long, but it certainly is a bit longer than just sitting waiting for it. But here's one that I did earlier and put it to dry somewhere. And what have I done with it now? Oh, here we go. Okay, so this one is nice and dry. Now let's use that side. So I'm going to do the white foam bit, and I'm using Versamark for it, and then white embossing powder. But if you do this bit while this is still damp, I'll show you what happens. No, not that one. Where's, oh, this one, of course. Have a look. I'll bring it up close to you, but have a look there. It's just gone very powdery where the powder stuck because it was damp. It didn't stick because it was on Versamark. So it is just powder there. Obviously it didn't get heat embossed. It's just sitting there. Frustrating, but I learnt my lesson. So let's see if we do this. If you get yourself into a position so that once you've done your stamping, you can lean your head back, or you can tilt that so that you can see exactly where you've done your stamping, because although you want quite a bit, you don't want it so solid that you can't see any sea underneath. Right, so I'm doing this with the two big bits up the top, okay, all of these big bits. As it fans out, I'm doing, no, that's wrong, isn't it? I'm doing all the fanned out ones at the top, that's right, because that's where it's all splashed and the sea's going all over. So yes, you want the splashed out ones top. And also you do want them to come up above the sea level. Okay, so I'm going to do, again, I want my mask back on. Do I? No, the splash can be going over the Lighthouse. So I'm going to do one there. Yes, I can just about see where I've done that. So the next one I'm going to come about here. And this I can see has come onto my Lighthouse, so that's good. Now I want one that's going to come up above here. So that's 3 that I've done. I think I'll just do one quite low here and one just on the edge here. Don't need much, just a little bit. Okay. So now I need my white embossing powder, which I think I'd put away. So let's bring that back again. Now I should, if I get that all down there, that looks good actually. I think that looks better than the other two. Mind you, we won't really be able to tell until we've done the heat embossing. Okay, so you can excuse the noise. Fortunately, it doesn't take long. Oh, I can see some that I haven't done there. See this bit in the middle here? I think that's all okay. Such a brilliant idea, this. Really brilliant. Right, so the next bit I'm going to do is the sentiment, which is here, and I'm going to stamp that with Night of Navy. This is going to be die cut, so I'm not too worried about whether it's straight or not. I still try, but I don't worry if it's not. There we go. The detail in Stampin' Up stamps is really quite amazing. So what I need to do now is die cut these, and I am using the Project Life cards and labels framelits. I'm using this one here. So I'm just going to get my Big Shot up. Let's move those out of the way. On. Just place that in the centre. That looks straight. So that's that bit, and then I'm going to do a piece of Night of Navy, and I'm going to cut that in half and use it as a layer, top and bottom, for my sentiment. There. Okay, so that's that. Pop that over there. Put this back down on the floor. And my nice large scissors. Just going to cut that in half. Doesn't matter whether it's totally straight or not, because it's going to be lining at the back here. Right, you come back. And I think I use Tombow. Just put a little bit at the top, a little bit at the bottom. That's a bit more than I would like. So if I can see my tweezers to pick it up with, I will just take the worst off by doing that to it. That's it, that one's okay. Oops. There we go. Okay, rid of that one. Now I think we can start putting everything together. My card base is here. So first of all, put Tombow onto this and put it onto this layer. The DSP that I used on here, the Designer Series paper, was one of the sheets that came in last year's Christmas papers. Because it was a personalised card I made for somebody, I don't mind using retired products. As you know, I really don't like waste, so right, there we go. And then I'm going to pop this onto dimensionals before I put it onto this sheet. She says, looking around for some dimensionals. I know they're here. Can't see them. If you could see my desk here, you wouldn't be surprised that I can't find things. Just been using them, they've got to be here. Oh, here we go. Just buried them with the embossing powder. Yes, they're all off. Just pop that in the centre. Just check that that looks straight. I think so. And then I'm going to put my sentiment up on dimensionals. What I do for here is one of these where I take a dimensional and I cut it in half, because I think to have one top and bottom is too much, but I don't think one in the centre is enough. Okay, so pop this on. There we go, there's that. And then finally I need my seagulls, and I'm using the pencil end or the pen end of my, what am I using? Smoky Slate marker pen. And it's, oh, in fact I should have done this before I stuck this together. Never mind. And however you do your seagulls, I think that's okay. Not very good at drawing, but there's so much else going on in the car, nobody else is going to notice that. So there you go. Quite a lot to it, but not difficult things to do. I hope you've enjoyed that. Thank you for watching my video. If you'd like to purchase any of the products that I've used here, obviously not this one because that is discontinued, it's retired, please click on the link that's at the bottom of the screen. That'll take you straight to my 24/7 online Stampin' Up shop. If you've enjoyed my video, please subscribe to my channel by clicking on the subscribe button on the right hand side of the screen, or depending on what you're watching this on, it may be below the screen. Oh, sorry, also if you have any questions, please contact me because I will be happy to help. Many thanks for joining me today. Until next time, happy crafting. Cheerio.